Good morning, everybody. We are back yet for another week. It is exciting. We're getting our smiles on, as you can tell.
But it's a hair up kind of a day for both of us.
That's right. It's Monday, and we're going to have a good week, darn it. We're going to have a great day. It's the first day of March. In addition to that, we've passed a full moon. Mercury's out of retrograde, and it looks like we're making some movement on COVID. So 2021 is actually starting to show some promise, which is really great.
It's really great. And today is my mother-in-law's birthday. So Diane, happy birthday.
Well, there you go, Diane. Happy birthday. So how are you, ma'am?
Well, as you can see, my hair is up. So that's how I am today.
I've actually never seen you with your hair up before.
This is the first time I've ever done anything on camera with my hair up. But
yeah, well, there's a first time for everything.
Just where we are today. And you can see the COVID gray, and I really need to get my hair dyed. That'll be my goal. By next week, I won't have any gray. I will be back to my fake bottle red.
Well, all right. Which has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but that's all right.
It actually does have what we're talking about.
You think it does?
It does, because we're talking about why HR and specifically recruiters are so judgy. And to be fair, if I were going on a job interview, I would fix the gray before I went, because I would be afraid that people would be judging me. I also would wear my hair like this.
Okay, well, I will admit that is a good segue. So
there you go.
That's a nice redemption going on over there. That's it. Well, so that's a good kickoff. So by all means, so share more, ma'am, about what you were thinking.
Well, so here's the deal. HR in general tends to be kind of a judgy profession because we make a lot of decisions and judgments. So we have to be judgy. But there are times when we really go overboard. And there's been a couple of things that prompted this on me. The first is somebody made a post at my Evil HR Lady Facebook group about her teenager going on his very first job interview for an internship. So a professional thing, not Burger King, but, an internship.
Right.
And the question was, what kind of mask should he wear? And the thing that I thought was interesting was the variety of actual opinions. Whereas my response was just, oh my gosh, that is so sweet that he's worried about that, But people were jumping in with, it needs to be a dark colored mask. It needs to be a cloth mask, not a disposable one, because disposable ones are tackier. And then I pointed out that, Germany doesn't allow you to wear cloth masks anymore. They have to be the disposable ones. And then, it's like, well, then what's more safe? And then someone's like, well, a single layer mask. And there was just all of this discussion around stupid masks. And I thought, are we judging candidates on what mask they put on? Yes, I'm going to judge you if you come in with your mask below your nose. But as long as your nose and mouth are covered, I'm totes good with that. And so I was thinking about that. And then earlier in the week, Fast Company published an article about typos in resumes. And I republished an old article I'd written 2014, so really old, about the same thing. And I shared it on Facebook and I shared it on LinkedIn. And the LinkedIn people went bonkers. With some of them being like, if you have a typo in your resume, that's clearly a sign that you don't care about this job, that blah, 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 blah. And all of those things together are swirling around in my mind. And then I'm typing a text this morning and I ended it with the word parents, meaning more than one parent, parents plural. And I typed PARENTS, and then I hit enter, and autocorrect in all its glory decided to go back and put an apostrophe in my text. And so I was like, am I not going to get the job? Because not only my gray roots, but if I was texting a recruiter and autocorrect adds in that apostrophe, is she going to go, she doesn't care. She doesn't know grammar. She doesn't know that an apostrophe doesn't make a plural. And I really think it's something we need to talk about because there are times and places for all of that. But it's not always the time and place.
So I know you want to get in on this one really, really quickly. So which side of this topic do you want to address first? And there's a reason why I'm being so snarky right now is because I got busted by Suzanne and she's bursting at the seams.
Yes.
Sharing you my faux pas.
The thing that's the worst of all is when someone who you think is your friend Brenda is advertising our upcoming summit, which is going to be awesome and amazing, and you should all come. And she listed my name as Susan, Susan. And the thing is that I know it was an error, and so I just said fix it, and then I will mock you on our show.
I don't even have the luxury of blaming an employee for something like that.
Should hire an intern.
Oh my gosh, I can't even blame the dog. Look at me, I'm laughing already. I can't even blame the dog. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. I just switched it on over.
Well, and see, this is the thing that it just happens sometimes. It really does. And sometimes I had a friend text me and say, hey, I noticed a typo in one of your articles. And I went back and I looked at it, and it was like a 3 or 4 year old article, and nobody had noticed in those 3 or 4 years. You know, it's like it just slipped through. Nobody noticed. And did it make a huge deal? No, it didn't.
No.
And
you know, I think that supports what you're saying, is that the one-off mistake in a resume or a cover letter or supporting documentation, if it's a one-off, it's a one-off, right? But if the whole resume is loaded, I mean, like loaded with mistakes, that's different. I've actually seen a resume where the person misspelled their own damn first name. I'm not kidding you. I've actually seen that. I was like, what? Got it right everywhere else except right up at the top. And I was just like, wow. All right. Clearly, this person did not review or read or anything, proof or anything like that. But I mean, it was all over the place. But if you don't have all over the place mistakes, we're human.
And I think that's really right. We're human. And I think a lot of times with recruiting, especially when you're getting a lot of applications, you're looking for reasons to reject rather than looking for reasons to hire.
Right.
And it's really easy to say, oh, that's a typo, reject, instead of thinking, does this really matter? And in some cases, it does. If you are hiring a copy editor, their resume should be perfect. If you are hiring a plumber, does it really matter? And I'm going to say to you, no. And then if you're hiring, let's say, an HR manager, how important is it that there are no typos? If she's going to be responsible for sending company-wide things out without anybody reviewing it, then it's probably pretty important. But most of the time, before you send anything out to the whole company, it goes through a review process and more than one person looks at it. And it's so difficult to catch your own errors. And
it
so
is
easy to catch other people's. It's so difficult to catch your own.
And I can tell you that, I underwent a lot in a particular job. I won't tell you which one it is, but, well, Let me correct that. In several of my positions, I underwent very harsh criticism and judgment. For those of you who may or may not know, I'm dyslexic and I make mistakes when I write. My threes, my sixes, my eights, they all look alike. And when I make a mistake, I never see it up front. I actually have to take a step back and review what I've written. And once I see what I've written, I can find my mistakes. But that's only when I've had some form of mental separation, right? If I don't have that mental separation, I'm never going to see it. That doesn't always afford me the ability to do what I need to do to be 100% perfect in time sensitive nature and manner. And so, a misspelling, unless it changes a word into an actual legal definition, no judge is really going to harp on you for having misspelling. But people get very crass and very cranky and very judgy about those kinds of things. On one side, it makes it makes sense. On the other side, aren't we also supposed to be the team and the department that is to look at the human side of things? And I think that often gets missed.
I think that you are right. And sometimes I think we can't see the forest through the trees, and we're so focused on this one thing that we forget to take a look at the whole person and the whole package. And I think that your dyslexia brings up a good point. For you, it's really, really difficult.
Yep.
I don't have dyslexia, and I can't spot my own errors until I have set aside. And then there are those things, like I said, with that autocorrect this morning, I was so annoyed that it just decided to go ahead and add an apostrophe for me. Those types of things happen. And the question is how important is this? And the other thing that I think is really important for me, I'm an HR person, I'm a writer, I have 4,000 HR friends, I have 4,000 writer friends. If I need something double checked, proofread, whatever, I have at my beck and call so many people that I can send to and say, can you look at this for me? And they're college educated professionals, better at grammar than I am, that will happily take a look at it for free. Not everybody has that.
No.
And so, especially if you're hiring entry level or blue collar, they don't necessarily have the connections that I have to look over those things for you. And so when we're making big judgments about spelling or grammar or whatever, for somebody whose job is never going to be to write anything other than an internal email, it's why do we place all of this pressure on it? I think the same thing can be said about job interviews as well. We put so much on the job interview when someone's job may have nothing to do with talking with other people.
Absolutely. It gets weird and it gets wild, and quite frankly, it can be over the edge if you're not careful. And when you keep in the mindset of employer and employee branding, you don't want the company to be typecast as an organization that is too critical, right? I mean,
Right.
We're in the human business. People are humans. We're going to do all sorts of weird stuff. We're going to make all kinds of weird mistakes. That's just the nature of being in the people side of business. And there has to be leniency and latitude, because you know what? I'll tell you what, in the years that I had I wouldn't say all of mine, but for like 8 years, I had managers, except for 2, that would always say attention to detail and must make these corrections. Well, I got news for you. I can't fix that. There's nothing I can do to fix that. And every time I had a review, and then they would realize what they said, and they would listen to what I said, and they realized that I was right. They're like, yeah, actually, you can't fix it. Well, I can't change it. It's got to go in there anyway. So it's like, okay, apparently what I have to say doesn't really matter, right? And that's, I granted that, I understand that that's the exception, not the rule, but it still stinks because I could never really prove that I was capable of doing the work in this shadow that I was born with.
And I think that's really, really important. And we need to be aware of that. Some people have some people have dyslexia. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Some people have
Some people have brain moments.
brain funk. Some people have dyscalculia, which can be the same things with numbers. And then as far as, interviewing and all of that, depending on where you are on the autism spectrum, you may have difficulty communicating in some ways. And we need to take all of that into consideration when we're making hiring decisions and say what is really important and what is not really important. And it can often be really easy just to be the nitpicky judgy. And I mean, I remember a few years ago, a woman contacted me for like 5 secrets that, recruiters have. And I declined to answer her question because she sent me the other people's answers. And they were like, I always check their right shoe because people drive with their right foot and the heel on their right shoe tends to get scuffed. So you want to check and see if they are polishing their shoes because that shows attention to detail. And I was like, what? You're proud of this? Like,
what does that have to do with the job?
Exactly. And someone else who was like, if they don't give me a firm handshake, then they're out of there. And I thought, I hate that dead fish handshake, hate it. But you know why some people do the dead fish handshake? Because they have arthritis in their hands.
Nerve damage or
nerve damage.
Oh,
or they just
like when they sprain their wrist? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it hurts to squeeze? Yeah.
And these people were, trying to give you tips and tricks for getting your job is make sure you polish your right shoe and give a firm handshake. And what they don't realize that they're saying is, I make judgments that have nothing to do with the job. And that's one of the reasons why it can be so frustrating for job seekers, because if I've got all of the knowledge, skills, and ability to do the job and my shoe is scuffed.
That reminds me of that scene in Shallow Hal. I only watched that movie once. And it was when the guy who's the actor who played the character of Hal was talking about this beautiful woman that he was going out with. And so he dumped her because her second toe was slightly longer than her big toe. And that to him was a non-negotiable. It was an absolute deal breaker.
You know what? I vaguely remember that movie. I'll have to give it a shot. It
wasn't really all worth the time watching it.
Wasn't worth it. But we don't want to be the shallow Hals. So it's really important that we focus on the important thing, both in our hiring and then with our employees. Because what's a bigger deal than somebody making a typo is how they respond when you call out the typo. If you say, like today, I said, Brenda, you spelled my name wrong. And if Brenda had responded, oh my gosh, I was under so much pressure, I don't know what, and she started yelling at me, then that would be like huge red flag,
Yeah.
Or
that didn't happen.
Nicole reviewed it.
The dog ate my homework.
Then that would be a problem. But what we did was laugh hysterically, and then she fixed it. And I actually learned this one summer out, and during college, I worked for my dad as a real estate appraiser, and for real estate appraisal for for commercial property, they write like this 30-page booklet thing about it. And one of my jobs was to read through and just catch any errors. And this is my dad, right? And the first time I found an error, I was like, I gotta tell him, but
I don't want to get grounded.
I don't want to. And he said, you know, here I am, your 19-year-old snotty daughter. Actually, it was 20. The 20-year-old snotty daughter being like, hey, Dad, here's a typo. And instead he said, oh, thanks so much. I'm glad you caught that. And I was like, oh, okay.
A little deflated were you now?
Yeah, and that's how he was every time. And that type of thing is important for me. So if I have an employee that makes a typo or whatever, and I shoot back saying, hey, you know, you used the wrong form of there, and they say, oh, okay, thanks, I'll fix it. Great.
Mission
But if
accomplished.
it's defensive, you know, well, I ran it through Grammarly and they didn't catch it. Well, I run things through Grammarly every day. And it catches a lot, but it doesn't catch everything. It really doesn't.
No, it does not.
It does not. I do think it's worth my money. That Grammarly wants to sponsor this and send us money, that would be great. They're not sponsoring this, but they could.
That's how you really feel on that one.
I do think it's worth my money and my effort to run it through every time, but it doesn't catch everything. And it's not the most important thing in the world. I think far more important is how you respond to correction. And a lot of things don't need to be corrected. If it's an internal email and there's a typo, just let it go.
You know, I used to have a boss that she was awful about this. I mean, and I was a senior level leader, and you would be in a room full of people presenting. And she would literally, I mean, you could be in a room of anywhere between 15 to 30 people. And it doesn't matter who it is. She'll do this to anybody. And she will literally vocally and verbally call out your errors in the middle of the meeting and completely put you down. And it was so wrong and so rude and so inappropriate. And she didn't care because she liked the power, which is the reason why I don't work there. But among other things, but it was not good. So judging does a lot to individuals. I mean, it really knocks people down. It also puts you at risk of rising to a much higher level than you really are at in many areas of life. But if you are overcritical, now, there are incidences when you recruit, absolutely, where you're just like, what? You know, those happen. But absolutely. When you are overcritical and you're not, and if you're not looking at an individual's talents, their capabilities, can they perform the essential functions of the job? Nobody's going to be perfect, right? And if you're looking for the perfect employee, you are going to look for a very long time because they just don't exist. You know,
well, there's the old story from Peter Capelli, who's a professor of management at the Wharton School, which is University of Pennsylvania Ivy League MBA program, and he tells a story of an applicant tracking system for an engineering position, and they got like 50-something thousand applicants for it. And the applicant tracking system came back and said 0 were qualified for the position. And, you know, it's supposed to be about how applicant tracking systems stink, but I think it's more how the recruiter was being super nitpicky in the criteria being put in.
Yeah, too many keywords.
Too many keywords and trying to find the perfect person. And whoever that recruiter was can also be someone that I would see going, oh, this person has all the skills, but look, there's a typo. And then, and then complaining there's a talent shortage. You know, there's a time and a place. And absolutely, if something is going to press and you want a copy editor to look at it, that copy editor better be good.
Yeah.
But you know who you're not going to hire as a copy editor? Me.
An engineer.
An engineer. You're not going to hire an engineer either. You're not going to hire me. You're not going to hire an engineer. You're not going to hire Brenda.
No, hell no.
None of us are going to do that job. And so we don't need that kind of skills. Now, I'm not arguing in any way, shape, or form that you should just write up your resume in 5 minutes and send it in. If possible, you should have friends review it and somebody that's experienced with grammar and all of that. But I can tell you for sure, I review friends' resumes all of the time, and I always catch little things. Mm-hmm. And the other day I was helping out a friend, and I'm an Oxford comma fan, and she didn't have Oxford comma. And I said back to her, I said, hey, this doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know, there's, here are these areas where you could use an Oxford comma if you want to. I like Oxford commas.
Yep.
And she took my advice, and she has a job interview set up for the job.
Ta-da!
I think it was Oxford commas.
Yeah. So, but,
that's not a big deal. But I imagine that there's a recruiter out there that would have gone, oh, no Oxford comma. Or conversely, oh, she put in Oxford commas. The APA says no Oxford commas, which is just wrong, by the way. Oxford commas are the best. And the courts are on the side of the Oxford comma, by the way.
That was a lot of taxpayer money that went into that preference.
Well, it had to do with a law that didn't include the Oxford comma. And so does that apply? And it was with truckers. And anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Which is the reason why we hang out in HR. So guess
we didn't go to law school.
Yeah. Hey, guess what's happening in 2 weeks and 6 days?
What?
2 weeks, 6 days, and 23 hours. There you go. It was all backwards. I'm
guessing that it's the next HR summit.
Yes, and you guessed correctly. And guess what else? Guess what else about the summit this time?
What?
People can get SHRM and HRCI recertification credits.
Isn't that amazing, everybody? You can get
incredible
credits, and you can listen to fabulous talks.
Absolutely.
Me and by Brenda.
Absolutely. And
by who? Steve Watson?
Steve Watson's coming back, but we've also got, he was on my podcast. He's a #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Trident. And we've got Jason Redmond, who is a friend of mine. He's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL. Jason's story is awesome. And he talks about his failures in leadership. He talks about what happens when he got wounded in Afghanistan. He took a round to the face, lost his nose during an ambush. But what he has also talked about, most importantly, is getting off the X and how to overcome adversity. And what do you do when these ambushes in life and in work show up and literally pound you to the ground? Because life is hard already as it is. And if you don't like start standing up and moving forward, it will keep you down. I don't know anybody else who's more qualified to talk about stuff like that other than somebody who's taken a bullet to the nose and lost a lot of time in life going through surgery, defending our nation and doing some pretty amazing stuff for wounded warriors as well. So he's awesome. He's a lot of fun too.
I'm excited.
He is. It was really great. We were in Utah. Unfortunately, you remember I shared with you that my business partner in the active shooter program passed away just 4 days before we actually launched the new program. Jason came out. The funeral was on my birthday in August, and I didn't say anything to anybody. We get back to the hotel because I was the chauffeur, so he could sit there and do work on his cell phone and whatnot. And all of a sudden, he's on the phone with his wife, and I hear, "What do you mean it's your birthday today? Like, this is noon." Yeah, and he was my hype man the rest of the day. It was awesome. Everywhere we went, he's like, yeah, did you know it's Brenda's birthday today? And it was a lot of fun. Nobody's ever done that for me. So that was really cool. So he's good people. He's great energy. He's awesome to listen to. And you guys are really going to enjoy him for sure.
It's going to be fantastic.
It is. So here's how you register for it. You can go to therealhrshow.com and you can pick up your registration there. You can go to brendathehrlady.com and you can go ahead and grab and click on the registration there. And then Suzanne's going to tell you how you can do it on her sites.
Yes, you can register there. Actually, you can't. By the time this video goes live on YouTube, you'll be able to.
Sweet.
So you'll be able to do that there too.
Sweet. So this is unlike what we did before in the past because we are offering certification credits. This is paid, but it's very reasonable. It's still 5 days. It's Monday through Friday, 1 hour each day with a designated schedule. And you'll find all of that on the websites when you go to actually register. But here's the thing. To get the credits, you have to attend all 5 days in completion. If you don't, we'll see it. And we can't issue the credit. So we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that you get the biggest bang for your buck.
Absolutely. And it's going to be well worth your time. Oh,
absolutely. Which is the reason why we bring in great speakers and we make it very reasonable for people to go ahead and compensate. You know, talk to your bosses, talk to your company owners. More than likely, they'll be happy to go ahead and pay for something like this. And you're going to get a lot of value out of it.
You'll get a lot of value out of it. Yep. There you go.
Absolutely. So those sites, so the event starts taking place on Monday, March 23rd. It kicks off at 10 a.m. and we will roll until Friday, March 26th. What's that?
I just said Eastern
Standard Time. Right. So that means that California and the West Coast, it starts at 7 o'clock your time. Hawaii, sorry, you got to get up at god awful early 5 a.m., but no one's going to be looking at you, so it's okay. You'll literally be up before the rooster.
Hawaii.
That's right. I love you guys in Hawaii. You know, I'm swear to God, I've got island fever so bad right now. I really want to get back home and go back over there. And I can just feel it. Like I'm listening to Hawaiian music. I've been eating Hawaiian food. I've been wearing tropical stuff just to keep my spirits up. But I even bought a palm tree yesterday for the love of Pete. But I mean, it was just, I'm telling you, I've got it really bad right now. Real bad. So, but anyway, so in Hawaii, everybody's got roosters in their background. Well, not everybody, quite a few people do. So yes, you will be up before the crowing of the rooster. So learning and getting those credits. So you'll be great. But anyway, we want to see you there. We had a fantastic turnout. Please join us. It's going to be phenomenal. We should tell them what we're talking about, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should. We should tell them what we're talking about.
So Susan, aka Suzanne.
It's a good thing I love you, Brenda. I am going to be talking about when hiring the perfect candidate isn't an option. And we're going to go through a couple of case studies on what to do when you're not getting the candidates you want.
That's right. So that's on Monday. Tuesday, which is actually the 22nd. No, wait. Starts oh my gosh, I gotta correct the dates on this thing. Man, all right. So Monday the 22nd is Suzanne. Tuesday, March 23rd is a look behind the scenes world of insurance and how to become a better negotiator. And Steve Watson's gonna be talking about that, who we've mentioned in the past, absolutely loves as a CFO to talk about insurance and money. On the Wednesday the 24th, I'm going to be talking about how to sell your agenda to your leaders. Jason's going to be joining us on Thursday the 25th in the afternoon because of his schedule. He's going to be talking about Get Off the X and Learn to Lead. He's going to be talking about his 2 books, The Trident and Overcome. Overcome is a fantastic book. And then Friday, March 26th, decided to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be coming back and talking about service dogs and your employees in the workplace. So good stuff.
Is Nakoa going to be making an appearance?
You never know when Nakoa makes an appearance. Usually lately, he's so big now, he comes up behind me. And it's really funny because in these like when I'm in Zoom meetings and whatnot, I'll be sitting here looking like this, and all of a sudden you see this big Yeti just pop up like right here. And he just stands right above me, and people are like, "Oh my gosh!"
And you're like, "He's just a puppy."
He's 10 months old. He's actually stirring around because now we're talking about him. But yeah, he does really, really well. He's a service dog in training as well, and yeah, pretty fantastic stuff. So
all right. In that case, I think it's probably time for us to sign off.
I think so too. But before we do, we almost forgot one of the best parts of all.
Right.
And that is
telling people how to find us.
Telling people how to find us.
Stalker way.
That's right. So would you like to start?
Sure. You can find me and 6,000 of my closest HR friends on a Facebook group called Evil HR Lady. And we are a public group. That's just a little important distinction. So anybody can read it. Not everybody does, but anybody can. Where you can talk about HR questions, share important things. I just posted on there about an ADA case where the company declined to pay $2,000 for automating doors for a wheelchair user, and then ended up with a $650,000 judgment.
Ooh, ouch.
So if you are an HR person and you're having trouble convincing your bosses of the importance of compliance,
that would probably be
the Facebook group. It's a good place to come up with examples to show to your bosses of like, look, $2,000 compared to a $650,000 thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No bueno. And so that is the Evil HR Lady over on Facebook. It's a fun group. I'm part of it. And then I have a closed group, which is called the Next Gen Women in HR. And it's also a Facebook group. To get in, you got to be an HR person or an aspiring or rising HR person. We've got 3 questions for you to answer. But similarly, this is where we sit and we pose questions. We exchange a lot of information back and forth. Last week, we had a big go around about ACA because one of our group people wanted to do something that actually unknowingly was against the Affordable Care Act provisions. So we were able to get her the appropriate help. In addition to that, we also actually connected her with a broker who sounds like it was a much better fit than what they were experiencing. Also, would love to throw out one little small plug, and that is for the best HR planner on the planet. It is still available. We have copies. You are welcome to go ahead and find this. It is a very in-depth look at all the compliance necessities that are out there throughout the year. It helps you build your strategy, and it is a fun, great tool to have by your side. Suzanne's got her copy as well. Ta-da! There it is.
See, it's on my desk, just like I said.
It is. That's awesome.
I keep it on my desk because it's handy.
I appreciate that. It is. It's a lot of fun.
I don't actually write anything in it, but I keep it there because it's got really handy information.
Mm-hmm.
Like filing dates. Can you read that?
There you go. Filing dates. Boom.
Filing dates. I mean, that's really handy information to have, and it's just sitting right there. And if I was good, I should start writing in it. But
yeah. Well, next year's will be even more for next year, for 2022. It's hard to believe 2022 is coming out, but that's another subject for another day and another topic, another conversation, because we will completely get off rails. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. As always, it's awesome having you guys here. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will talk at you very soon.
Bye.